Hello everyone and welcome along to the first ever Fanboy 3 Lorcana TCG competitive event. It's a winner box tournament where the winner of today's event walks away with not one but two brand new sealed boxes of Lorcana, the first chapter. And we have our first round of 5 rounds of Swiss, including a top 16 cut ready here for you live. We have Ash on your left-hand side of your screen playing a Emerald Steel deck, and we've got Katarina on the right-hand side playing a Sapphire Steel. So already in the early going in the feature match, Steel is a very popular, prevalent colour. We're expecting to see a lot of it in some capacity throughout this event, as our players get ready for their first game and take their mulligan, and we are underway. Ash, with the first turn, will ink a Takar and will play a 1-cost Simba. Is not going to elect to use the ability. It's a you may ability. You can choose whether you would like to draw a card and discard a card. As we pass the turn over to Katarina, and she is going to develop her brain, which will give her an opportunity to look at the top 2 cards of her deck and take one of them into hand and the other at the bottom of the deck. So already Katarina getting an opportunity to just set themselves up for potential future turns. As we pass over to Ash, his second turn, that Simba now is ready to go ahead and get questing. Tap for 2, it's a Flynn Rider is the play, and we'll quest for 1. Our first lore point on the board in this Lorcana special tournament event. That Flynn Rider, 2 cost of course, 2 lore quester. And whenever it is challenged, the opponent has to choose and discard a card. So that could prove very, very pesky in these early stages, especially with that 2 lore pip on the right-hand side of its card. Katarina, a little bit of a slower turn, just inking away and passing the turn. 3 for Ash. It's going to be Jasper. And then with no pressure on the board, it's just an easy quest for 3. And already Ash is starting to get some serious pressure on that scoreboard. Katarina will tap for 3 and play Detective Mickey Mouse, which is a key tool in the Sapphire card pool to be able to accelerate ink. It's one of the biggest tricks of Sapphire, being able to rush ahead and gain more ink into your inkwell at your disposal earlier on in the game. Mickey being able to, as soon as it's played down, take the top card of the deck and just put it straight face down, exerted into the inkwell. Well, we were talking about, though, the opportunity for Ash to start running away with the scoreboard pressure. Plays down a Hans, which is a 3 lore questing card, and quests away as well for another 4 lore. 8-0 already in game 1 of round 1. And Katarina already starting to look in a little bit of trouble. This is the thing that this Emerald Steel build can kind of do. Plays a lot of low to the ground, low cost glimmers and characters, but firing straight off with a grab your swords from Katarina. That will help her out a lot. Be able to get rid of the Simba and the Flynn Rider, not having to challenge into it to force the discard ability to trigger. Grab your swords, such an important steel cards, become a staple in many builds that have steel incorporated into it. That ability to just deal 2 damage to everything, a combo that undoubtedly we'll see throughout the course of the tournament, is the shift into the giant Tinkerbell for 4 ink. And of course, with it shifting, you're able to use it to quest or sing songs vitally in this combo. Sing away, grab your swords. The Tink does 1 damage to everything as soon as it comes into play, and then the swords dealing the extra 2, getting up to 3 damage for just 4 ink to everything. And speaking of 3 damage, that's exactly what's going to befall that poor Mickey Mouse detective. Smash is going to come down, and then follow-up is going to be the Simba. Again, not going to elect to draw and discard with it. Instead, she's going to quest up for 4. 12-0 the scoreboard on the lore counter. You'll see at the bottom of your screen, and unless you can find another grab your swords here for Katarina. I think that game one's already starting to look like it might be in the books slightly. That Hans does have 3 willpower, so any kind of damage will take it down. Okay, now here's an interesting inclusion into this deck. This is Plasma Blaster, the Lilo and Stitch item card. And it is going to be able to be used as well because it's an item. It doesn't have to wait for the ink to dry. Tap 2 ink and tap the item card, deal 1 damage to the chosen character, and the sight's set straight onto that Hans as well. We just said about how damage of any kind is going to be able to take away that big 3 lore quester off of the board. And Katarina are able to find the answer to that big threat, but there's still 2 little threats that are questing away in the form of Jasper and Simba. Jasper doesn't have any targets to be able to take advantage of its ability though. Whenever it quests, you are able to select one of your opponent's characters, and that cannot quest on your opponent's turn. Really great tool in some of the more controlling mid-range builds of Emerald that we've been seeing recently as the game has started to develop. We're just about a couple of months or so into the life cycle of Lorcana. Rise of the Floodborn right around the corner next month as well. As Jasmine is going to be played down for 3. And Smash for Jasper as well. So that's going to stop the ability to hold Katarina's questing. But there is still that Simba. I think up to 5 ink now. Oh dear, you hear the reaction from Katarina. Kuzco comes down. A 5 ink, 3 lore quester. But the text below it as well, at the bottom of that card, makes it all the more important. It has an ability called Ward, which means it's not able to be selected by anything except from a challenge. So that's actions, songs, actions and abilities of characters like the Tinkerbell. You can't be able to select it. Plasma Blaster also isn't going to be able to select that either. The only way to get rid of that is to challenge, and if you do end up challenging and getting rid of that Kuzco, it has the no-touchy ability, and whatever it's going to challenge into is challenging into it. Kuzco is going to take it with him to the discard piles. We follow up with Katarina playing a small Tinkerbell, so we could potentially see a shift into the big Tinkerbell later on. As Katarina's just trying to fire the cannons here on the Kuzco, but we're going to just get that corrected because, of course, as we discussed earlier, it's got Ward, so you're not able to select it. There is a slight exception to that rule. It is if a card specifies all, because it's not selecting, because there's no specifying what character you're trying to attack with a card, like Grab Your Swords that says deal damage to all characters. Grab Your Swords is an option to deal some extra chip damage, but instead Katarina's just going to elect to fire the cannons on the Simba, so let's get rid of a small little threat. And Katarina is finally going to get herself onto the scoreboard as well. A quest for 2 with Jasmine. But now Kuzco, his ink is dry this turn, so he's going to be ready to quest away for 3, which will put Ash up to 18 lore. And tapping another 5 is going to be a Grab Your Swords of Ash's own. And it's going to deal the extra 2 damage. Will quest for 3, go up to 18. So the Tinkerbell has 2 health left on it. The Jasmine just the 1. That Kuzco remains untouched with 4 willpower onto it. It's a really quite a big number, actually, when you think about it in the scope of this game and the scope of the context of the limited card pool that is in Disney Lorcana at the moment. A lot of songs and actions are doing the likes of that 2 to 3 mid-range kind of damage. And there you go, Katarina just getting confirmation about the rule in regards to grab your swords, because it says all, the damage is going to be able to go onto the Cusco, so that's going to be the 2. And it's going to be the Tinkerbell that's going to be chosen to challenge in and sacrifice itself to take the Cusco down. And Jasmine will go questing away and double the score count for Katarina. 18-4 in game 1 of round 1 of this Disney Lorcana winner box tournament. But there is the big Tinkerbell. Hard played down for 6. Will deal the last 1 damage needed to take down that Jasmine. And that's the last 2 quest lore that Ash would need to take over this game. Going to play down an Aurora. I think Katarina just willing to play this game out. We'll tap the Plasma Blaster for 2 as well. We'll attack for 1, and then there will be the 2 quest to finish off game 1. Ash questing up to 20. And that happened quite quickly, actually. Just 12 minutes gone on the clock. You'll see at the top of your screen next to the round counter and the game counter for the round. 1-0 to Ash in this first best of 3. It's a 50-minute time limit as well. And if we get towards the later stages of this round, we'll go through how the end of turn, the end of round rules go. But with how quickly Ash was able to get those low-cost glimmers and low-cost characters onto the board, deal pretty well with Katarina and anything that Katarina put onto the board. Obviously, with him playing the steel, has access, we saw, to smash and grab your swords, used to great effect within that first game. And as for Katarina, just needs to find those cards to be able to ramp into. Got some of the early ramp initially with the likes of that Detective Mickey Mouse, but from there just didn't really have anything to follow up with, and it just allowed that extra turn or 2 for Ash to be able to solidify their board, run away with it, get that scoreboard pressure on early, and take game 1 away. But the players are drawing up their opening hands ready for game 2. They'll get an opportunity to look at the top 7 cards of the deck that they have just shuffled and mulligan away any cards that they don't want. So for any players that might be new to trading card games, Disney Lorcana might be your very first foray into this wonderful world. First of all, we welcome you. It's a fantastic world and a fantastic community and place to get into, especially with the group that have been playing here with us here at Fanboy 3. You have the ability to look at the top 7 cards of your deck as your opening hand, and then you can put away to the bottom of your deck any amount of cards that you don't want to start the game with. You will put them to the bottom of your deck, draw straight back up to the maximum starting 7, and then shuffle your deck. So both those players have just done that. Katarina, with losing game 1, will have the opportunity to choose whether they would like to go first or second. Katarina has chosen to go first and is going to ink away. Does she have any kind of opening play? Is there a develop your brain? There's not this time. Turn will pass straight over to Ash, who does have a turn 1 play, and it is just going to be the same Simba that he played in game 1. Not using the draw 1, discard 1 ability either, and it's going to be passed back over to Katarina on the right-hand side of your screen. Inking away, tap for 2. And it is going to be 1 jump ahead. Okay, so this is a song card that I admit I've not seen played in a lot of decks as of this early stage of the game. It is simply just pay 2, and you can accelerate up another ink into your ink well rested. With it being just a 2 cost as well, you can sing that song. As playing down an Aladdin, quite thematic actually, just being played after the 1 jump ahead. Quests for 2 lore when it is ready. It's a bit of an underrated little gem actually. I didn't realise that card had the capabilities that it does. But you can see this kind of aggro-y style emerald steel deck that just wants to rush the lore board and the scoreboard, as Katarina is going to continue to accelerate up that ink. and then firing the cannons away on that Aladdin, realising that Katarina doesn't want to have to deal with that early scoreboard pressure like they did in Game 1. And already this is starting to look like more of a rounded, solid start to this Game 2 for Katarina. Up to 3 ink available now for Ash, with them inking this turn. And it is going to be Jasper that is going to follow up and going to be played down in a simple quest for 1, 2-0 in the law count. And Katarina will untap a lot more ink. 5 ink on the board for Katarina. If she inks this turn as well, that will be 6. There it is. So is there something that is a little bit bigger, has a little bit more willpower behind it, can quest for a little bit extra as well to force Ash into making some answers? Paying 3 is going to be the blaster once again. And 3 again for a Tinkerbell. Is Katarina going to elect to quest here? Yes, she is. Probably the right option here, I think, because you're questing for 1. You're closing the gap on that scoreboard early. There is an argument potentially to challenge into the Simba, but nothing really gained from doing that, especially when you've got the Plasma Blaster on board. You have the opportunity to just sort of ping away little bits of chip damage freely once you've gotten some of those bigger bodies on board. As over to Ash's turn, a Cheshire Cat is going to be played down. Now, you might initially look at this card and look at the stat line on this card and think, well, it's a 0-3. It doesn't challenge for anything. It's not going to start doing any damage, and it's not going to do any damage back when it's challenged into. Yes, it can quest for 2 lore, but you're not really getting the benefits if it and when it goes away. But that's where the ability comes into play. Very similar to Kuzco. If it's challenged into and banished, it takes whatever it banishes with it. So Simba is going to be challenged in by Tinkerbell. That's probably the smarter option to start challenging in there with it. Tinkerbell having 4 willpower will only take the 1 damage, leaves it 3 health, so it's out of range still of grab your swords. But where can Katarina go from here? 6 ink up and available. Gonna elect to challenge Horace, so maybe there's a smash potentially being signalled here from Katarina, just wanting to get the 1 damage onto it. So 3 is left. There is a tap for 5, it looks like. And it's going to be Jasmine that is going to be played down. This is a nice little card, and you'll see immediately the ability of it. Ash just wanting to have a little bit of a read himself. So it's a 5 to play down. Quests for 2 attack, 5 willpower. Can shift onto other Jasmines for 3 ink. But it has the Caretaker ability. When you play this character, and whenever she quests, you may remove up to 2 damage from each of your characters. So is able to heal up that 2 damage that was just taken by the Mickey Mouse. And you'll see right there as well that Plasma Blaster being used and fired away, just starting to chip away at the 4 willpower of that Horace. And already this is looking a really nice little board state for Katarina, especially compared to the first game. Has 3 characters on board, has the ability to quest for up to 4 lore next turn if all of the characters are able to survive to the next turn. There's the commentator's curse as a smash comes down and takes down the Tinkerbell. 2 ink left on board. Quest for 3, and the Jasmine is not going to be allowed to quest, which is important because that shuts off that Jasmine ability as well. So not able to freely just swing in for 1 against that Jasper like she did last turn and then go ahead and quest away with the Jasmine to heal Mickey up. 3 ink for a smaller Jasmine, just a simple 3/3 for 3, but does quest away for 2 lore when her ink is dried. now potentially in a little bit of an awkward situation here. It looks like going to challenge with the Mickey Mouse into the Jasper, so the 1 damage from the blaster will now take it down, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen as well. Katarina alert to the option, and that Jasmine cannot quest, so it's just going to be a pass of the turn. Probably a little bit of an argument there for Jasmine to go ahead and challenge into the Cheshire Cat, and punished for it as well as the Genie comes down on the left-hand side of the board for Ash. The big super rare Genie on the job. It's a 6 ink, 3/4, quests for 2, has evasive, which means that only characters that have evasive themselves can challenge into it, and has that disappear ability that we just saw. Whenever you play the character, can return something to the player's hand and gets rid of that Jasmine. It is going to be able to be played down again, which is going to be exactly done by Katarina. Will heal straight the damage off of the Mickey Mouse that was sustained by the Jasper challenge earlier, but that's where I think that there was a potential for a little bit more value to be gained out of that Jasmine. With it being a 0-3, that Cheshire Cat, and Jasmine only dealing 2 damage, you're not going to lose that Jasmine straight away. You're not taking any damage under it either, and would have just put it into Plasma Blaster range to get rid of it and not lose any more board presence. There's a quest for 3. The damage from the Plasma Blaster is going to go on the Genie, which is probably the smart option here, because I don't think off of the top of my head there are many characters in either Sapphire or Steel that have evasive. There is the starter deck face card, the Mufasa, that does gain evasive on your turn. If Katarina plays that, that could be an option, but she's got to find it and got to deal with a Grab Your Swords that goes down, and is just going to start questing away, it looks like, for 4 here for Ash. And with those 2 characters that quest for 2 each on the board, one of them flying up in the air with a trail of blue smoke behind it, could spell some serious trouble for Katarina. She's got to deal with that Genie very, very quickly. Plays a Ruthless Duelist Captain Hook, which is a challenger, which means that on your turn, whenever you use it to challenge, it will gain an amount of extra attack that is specified on the card. So Jasmine is going to go questing. That's the 5 ink Jasmine there, the rare one. That's going to heal up both the Mickey and the small Jasmine. And is just going to elect to quest out here, using all of her characters to just go questing. 13-9 on the scoreboard in the midway point of this round 1. Plasma Blaster will fire at the Genie, so that's halfway to hitting the discard pile, but Katarina really has 2 turns to get rid of the threats on board, and that's just the threats that are on board. That doesn't speak to any possible characters that might be in Ash's hand. Here is a tap for 3. It's going to be a smash onto the Jasmine for 3, and then a Megara is going to play for 2. Has the ability to give some attack power to one of your chosen characters, but that's not really on the mind right now for Ash. It's purely just a race. 17-9 now, and Katarina has to find, got to be a smash, a Grab Your Swords. There's no small tink on the board now, so it's not like she can do that shift Tinkerbell Grab Your Swords combo like we said to get that extra damage. Could potentially sing Grab Your Swords with Jasmine if Katarina has it on board, because she is a 5-cost character. You are able to sing songs up to the cost of 5, as the Duelist hook is just going to challenge straight into the Cheshire Cat. There we see the ability that we spoke about earlier. Fire off the duelist hook going into the discard pile. Blaster is going to fire at the Meg, which I believe is going to destroy it as well. I believe that it is a 2-1. It is indeed. There is the confirmation. But still has to deal with that Genie. At the moment, questing for 2 will put Ash up to 19, so would survive to the next turn. The Beast is going to be the follow-up. And then quest for 3. That's going to put Katarina up to 12. The potential to quest for 5 lore next turn. That will put her up to 17 with some quick maths. Passing the turn over to Ash. Cheshire Cat number 2 hits the play area. Quest for 2 will put Ash up to 19, right on the precipice of taking this round 1 in this first ever Fanboy 3 winner box competitive event for the Disney Lorcana trading card game. Katarina now really needs to top deck a Grab Your Swords if she doesn't have it already. Here's the draw for Katarina. 7 ink, I think I count, on board as well, so has the potential to just cast it herself. Starting to count her ink out. 6 that's going to be casted away. That's a Scar. That's not going to help, I don't think. The big 6-drop Scar. It is a rare card. Whenever you play this character, chosen opposing character gets -5 attack. Gonna quest up to 17, but it looks like it's gonna be pretty powerless here. He's gonna fire away the blaster, I think, but there it is. There is the concession, and Ash is going to be your first winner on board and on stream and on recording here for the Fanboy 3 Lorcana trading card game. We hope that you've enjoyed it. There is plenty more action coming onto the channel here from the day's play. If you are liking it, please drop a like on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. There will not just be Lorcana content coming up, plenty of TCG action, and we will see you in the next video.